And we are back after a little bit of those quick little gear shifts. We are going to be continuing on into our next series, the quarterfinals, Solar versus Hurricane. Starting off on one of our new maps here.
Yeah, this is our first time casting Ice and Chrome today, and I'm excited. I'm very excited to check this out and see how these Korean players play on it, because unfortunately I haven't had the luxury of casting them.
Especially in the PvZ, right? I'm just imagining what can really be gone for here, because both Zerg and Protoss, they kind of follow a similar graph when it comes to their mobility, right? The early game, okay, maybe in the early game, Zerg is a lot more mobile than Protoss, but in the mid game, both of them can go for these sort of multi-pronged attacks. Both of them can go for these run-bys while having a main sort of push, and then when you get to the late game, both of them go into Sky armies that are just so slow.
Yeah, definitely.
Everyone's getting in the series, Jeebus.
Yeah, it looks like Zest versus Armani must have finished up, as, of course, Wardy is coming on over, as well as Crank. So, yeah, we'll see how this series goes. And I'm just curious to see how Hurricane plays this out. I haven't seen Hurricane play in the new patch. Is he, does he favor Stargate openers? Does he go for Twilight Council openers instead? Dark DTs have been seeing like a resurgence as well. So, yeah, I'm really excited to see how this goes.
I'm trying to think back to what I remember Hurricane's games are like. I vaguely remember Phoenix is involved somewhere, but I could be wrong.
It's true. I could be just thinking of Trap.
It is possible. They're both, their names are similar.
They are.
And speaking of similar, we are going to be spawning on in now. On to Ice and Chrome LE, where I told Quirky that I would have a meme prepared for him for this map, and I still don't have one, so Steel, help me out here. In the top right-hand corner of the map, spawning in the top right-hand corner of the map, we have the blue Zerg coming down all the way from the land of Seoul, Mecha of Esports. He is currently teamless, but will be representing Clan Into the Clan, the rising or resurging Zerg menace. He is Solar. Pan L.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Ice and Chrome LE, we have the Korean Protoss player representing himself as he is also teamless. It is Hurricane.
I just realized how fitting both of these players' names are. Forces of nature coming at you.
both different states of like climate and stuff. It's very fitting. I feel like they could probably make a team with like Solar, Hurricane, Rain. They all just like
both rains.
both rains. Yeah, why not?
You can probably get snow in there if you want to extend it to blue or a bit.
Yeah, they can get snow. I feel like
I can think of.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other ones. Like, who else is there?
Like somebody fired. There is no lightning, is there?
There is lightning. Yeah, he's Canadian
lightning.
Player.
There we. All right. How can I forget about?
Yeah, we casted it. Oh my god.
Lightning win. Got lightning in there. Yeah, for one.
Yeah,
It's gonna be a storm.
I'm surprised that there isn't someone called Storm or
They're all in Storm.
They're all in Storm, or like a tornado or anything like that. Like, maybe that's too edgy. I don't know.
I vaguely remember a tsunami.
Tsunami. That sounds good.
I think it were a player from, I want to say Taiwan, but I could be wrong there.
All right, so we were talking about what kind of opener Hurricane was going to go for, and we do see that Twilight Council opener coming out. And Yaku, are we going to see the Glaive Adepts, or are we going to be seeing a Dark Shrine following this?
I think it's gonna be the Dark Shrine. Oh, well, he did get the Warp, not Warp Prism, the Robo Facility immediately after that, and there you go, there's the Glaives. So, yeah, I was wrong there. Once I saw the Robo, I should have, that should have been enough of a tell.
Yeah, we'll see how much he commits to this. As you know, Dark Shrine follow-up is still possible. It isn't as common, but you know, it can be thrown down later on as a follow-up. And with this, we'll see how much damage can get done, if any. As long as Solar scouts this, he can prepare accordingly. And I just realized that Solar, he opted not to go for Overlord speed, so it will take some time for him to get an Overlord in there, if at all.
But he sees it regardless, yeah. There's no Stalkers here to push this Overlord away in the completely wrong position. We'll be watching that that Twilight Council start researching, and that Robo Facility start producing. Solar should have enough of a tell here to get prepared back at home.
Yeah, definitely. You should be able to, you know, get roaches set up or queens, or, you know, there are a couple of different ways to deal with this. You can even go Mass Ling, you know, kind of pick your poison. And yeah, the roach one is kind of late if that's his answer to this. Well,
it is always the safe bet here. There's also a little bit of saving grace with Solar. Well, I say there's a little bit of saving grace in that this is the largest map in the current map pool, but we saw that it really kind of, I don't want to say it favors the Protoss player, but the Protoss player can make a bit more of a mistiming here than Zerg player can.
Yeah, and there are plenty of Queens here. He's making a lot of Lings to try and deal with the Shades if they commit, and ooh, they do not. And honestly, I love that he's getting a Spine at his third base. It helps so much when you're like getting pulled apart, when you're going to your main, having side defense there just to force the AI, the Adepts, to attack it instead of drones.
Exactly, and one thing about the Spine Crawler that I didn't even notice until about this weekish light, they have a lot of health behind them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They take a lot of damage, and there's one thing about StarCraft 2, it's that you always want to have that critical mass of attacking units, right? Just to deal with your opponents better. Spine Crawler can buy you just enough time to get that.
Yeah, especially against Adepts. Like, Adepts kind of like slowly chip away at them. So yeah, they're really ideal for defense against this, as the Adepts, they still haven't dealt too much damage. I think they've killed a Queen. So far so good for Solar.
Yeah, Solar, Hurricane rather, keeps trying to find these openings that you can get, but not finding them. Do see this Warp Prism being a bit of a nuisance, but it's more than dealt with here by Solar. Yeah, everywhere Hurricane goes, Solar has units in position to jump on them.
Oh god, he even gets us around the Adepts.
Yeah, the rocks aren't taken down yet, so there is no escape path. Thankfully, there was the Warp Prism available for hot pickup. But that also takes it out of commission a little bit. Forces a force field out here, and Solar is just gonna regroup.
Ooh, and that was actually quite lucky that there aren't any Ravagers here for Solar, so the Warp Prism goes unimpeded, able to warp in more and more. There we go, finally some Ravagers being morphed in. But this army for Hurricane is looking pretty solid. A lot of it will come down to the force fields, though.
That it will. It's not trying to sort of force itself into this angle, just trying to force itself between the main, or not the main, the natural and the third base. And Solar, oh, this is not quite the angle that the Protoss player wants to go for.
Yeah, and I feel like... Yeah, I feel like there aren't enough sentries with this army either. Like, there are 3 sentries, which is nice, but they don't have that much force field energy.
And there you go, that's all the energy used up, Light.
Yeah, that was it.
And look at this concave. The army of Solar is starting to get thinned out. These Immortals are definitely acting as the MVP here. The juggling is sufficient for the time being. But there are Ravagers out, and yeah, this Warp Prism Hurricane can't stay still for much longer. The Spine Crawler is helping out in the fight now, and look at it tank a heck of a lot of damage. The Adepts move in onto the main base, and they start getting a couple of drones, and yeah, quite a bit of drones here and there.
Oh yeah, but the main army...
Solar getting kicked apart. No, he's not.
The main army is going down, already losing one of the Immortals as well, and it looks like the Adepts have been dealt with, only getting 3 drone kills, so Solar is holding quite well.
Hurricane is very rapidly running out of steam here. Solar, he's starting to, his army is starting to thin out, but he has the defender's advantage. We already see so many of his units are about to be coming off of coming off of completion there, and Hurricane has no transition out of this. He's still on 2 bases, and
he's basically all in
right
now. Yeah, he needs to end the game now. And the Immortal goes down. That takes away so much out of this push.
That
Now,
it.
yeah, with just pure Adepts, what's Hurricane gonna do? He commits to the Shade as well.
And this is not at all where he wanted to be. Like, you know, it's a bit of a gamble there, and we do see the Adepts here taking out a couple of these drones, but yeah, that is not going to be enough here for Hurricane. Solar is going to take that game and going up onto the league. He has just been looking so solid today.
Yeah, that was, oh my god. That was so good from Solar, able to just hold against that Glaive Adepts. And again, Hurricane, he's the one that forced himself all in. Like, that isn't necessarily how you have to play that series out, that kind of game out.
That was, I feel like that was a catalyst, right? Or you know, a point of no return here for Hurricane, where for the longest time, he could have just applied this pressure of the Adepts, go back, well, not go back home, but switch his attention back home, get his third base, get set up, and then just keep Solar on his side of the map to go into an advantage into the mid game. But Hurricane, I feel kind of tunneled vision a little bit. He was almost at the eye of the Hurricane, if you will.
Yeah, I don't know if that was the right call, especially on a map like Ice and Chrome, where it does favor more macro play. And it takes so long for your reinforcements to go across the map as well.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, that's why the Warp Prism, right? That's why it's paramount to keep the Warp Prism alive and have the units to warp in with it as well. This, yeah, did not work out too well in that favor, but here we are, going to be spawning in onto not Eternal Empire, not Everdream, not Golden Wall, although I feel like Golden Wall, I would still be surprised if I saw that a little bit. We are going to be spawning in onto Death Aura, LE, the Aura of Death. I feel like it's very heavily inspired by Warcraft, either World of Warcraft or Warcraft 3 with the Death Knights. I feel like they do something like that, right? Don't they?
Sure. Yeah, why not?
Sure, yeah. In the bottom right-hand corner of the map, spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, we have the blue Protoss, Zerg, coming down. Oh, the Death Aura's already gotten to my brain light. Coming down all the way from the land of Seoul. We're going to be representing into the clan. Currently teamless, though, we have Solar.
And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Death Aura LE, we have the other teamless Korean player. He is Protoss. He is representing himself. He is Hurricane. Thunder. I don't know if that's what you were doing.
Not at all. I was digging into my hipster backlog there, but I guess it fits.
Goddamn. So yeah, we'll see how Hurricane plays this out. We'll see if he goes for Twilight Council opener again, or a Stargate, or maybe something else, you know, like, especially on this map, especially because of those speed zones we have seen, like Charge the all-ins work on this as well, if you go for Twilight Council and if you don't get any gases.
Well, that's a bit of an interesting discussion to have, isn't it? Because of, not just because of these speed zones, but also because of how warp-ins work. I feel like out of all races, Protoss is the least affected by these. Because if the Protoss wanted to, or the Protoss player wanted to, they could get a Warp Prism, or they could get a Pylon. It would be a slower warp-in, but I imagine it would be faster than warping back home and moving them across the map.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like the only thing that it would really affect is stuff like robo-based units that you can't warp in, but yeah, so many of these all-ins or so many of these aggressive builds don't really rely on that. But again, on this map, that it could change it, right? Like maybe it makes that sort of stuff more viable. It's hard to say as.
Ooh. No, I was just thinking about what you're saying, like making it more viable. I was planning that nothing happened in game other than an oracle. other than the Oracle getting scouted by Solar.
Yeah,
I was just imagining the scenarios of the more charge-lit all-in or even the more all-in styles.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, you know, the way these maps work out, they could, you know, allow for different play styles. It is definitely possible, but you know, we're not going to be seeing any of that here as we did have that Stargate opener.
I mean, the Oracle assumed past its zone a little bit quicker than if it didn't have it.
It's accurate.
It got to the other side of the map about 0.5 seconds quicker.
Yeah, and sometimes in a game like StarCraft, that's all you need, but not in this game, as Solar is completely ready for it. He scouted it earlier. He has his spores. He has his queens. He's perfectly fine.
And now he's about to show Hurricane how you're supposed to use those fast zones with his own lings.
Yeah, it's we'll see how he
lings. Jesus.
just zoom on past, and yeah, so far like this Stargate hasn't really done too much. Oh, the sentry.
Oh, it is caught between a rock and a force field right now, quite literally, like, and it does get taken out. Sentries are units that you really want to keep a hold of because of the utility that it gets as the game goes on. So taking it out early is definitely quite a bit of a help. A lot of chaos going down in Solar's bases, and amidst that, Hurricane was able to get 6 drones. Not too bad.
Yeah, that was actually really good. The way he used his depths and his oracles to dive in and kind of attack that mineral line, even getting more workers here as well.
And oh, I like this so much. Like, Hurricane realized Solar moved all of his queens to the natural base, and there's a little bit of gap in between creep, or even at the ramp that he could make use of. He just dives straight into the main.
Yeah, that was actually...
Yeah, getting a couple more drone kills there.
Yeah, that was actually really well done and really well worth it as well, just because Solar, I feel like, in the beginning got a lot of value finding and then killing that sentry. I was like, oh my god, this is a really rough start. But, you know, counterattacking and getting all those worker kills really helped put him back into it, and I would say now at an advantage.
Speaking of getting back into it, though, Solar, you cheeky lad.
Oh, he's gonna get swatted by the oracles, though.
Not yet, not yet. These oracles are out for blood. They're not here for scouting. They want the drone damage. And they have completely missed the spire.
Yeah, and this could be huge. The longer this goes on, the longer this goes unscouted, the better it is for Solar, and it could completely catch him off guard. Like, to be fair, like, this is one of those madman situations where it's like, you're going Spire and your opponent already has a Stargate. What are you thinking? Well, I mean, it can still work, right? Like, Phoenix Production hasn't started. There's no reason for it to start.
Exactly. When you get this much damage done with the oracles, and you keep them alive as well, getting the Phoenixes, I want to say, is kind of the budget Oracle, kind of. They are completely different units. The Oracle is much more of a utility unit. You need it for the Force, not the Force Fields, the other one, the Stasis Wards, but also for the Revelations, for the Scouting. Phoenixes, in this stage of the game, also generally used for Scouting.
Yeah, and oh, did he see it?
Gets shot.
Wow, yes, he did just see it, so he does know about the Spire. What will his reaction be? He does have Blink on the way, and Blink can definitely help. We'll see if he starts making Phoenixes, but the army of Hurricane is already here.
That it is, and it is looking to at least kill that third base. I wanted to say end it, but that's not quite as clear. There is a pretty healthy sentry count here. This run by from Solar, not getting too much damage, but does keep a couple of units of Hurricane back at home.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Hurricane didn't.
Enough time.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't continue to apply pressure, especially because if you look at the army of Solar, he only has 1 Ravager with his main army. Like, there's not really much there to stop those sentries from force fielding the army, from splitting it up, and from taking a better engagement. So, yeah, honestly, really surprising that Hurricane opts to back off. Maybe he's afraid of those Mutalisks.
That's definitely a possibility. No, that's actually probably the main possibility, but that ties into the fact that it is very much risk reward, right? If Hurricane is a little bit out of position, Solar can pounce on that. And speaking of pouncing on that, Solar's Mutalisks do get a couple of probes, and they did manage to get an Immortal, but yeah, they're just gonna continue to be a presence, or to have a presence on the map.
Yeah, I feel like getting that Immortal was pretty huge. There's a lot of value getting out of that. But to do that, Solar did lose 2 Mutalisks already. So far, Hurricane's defense has been decent. But the Stalkers are out of position.
Yeah, I mean, Solar isn't jumping on this, but again, just keeping this pressure up quite a bit forces Hurricane to make these Phoenixes, which he wasn't planning on in the first place. If you look at a production tab, Solar is basically finished with his Spire units. He's just going full-on road traffic. The Oracles are not. There is no stasis ward that can help Hurricane whatsoever. The sentries do manage to get some nice force fields, but what kills force fields like
Ravagers. Ravagers, Solar, and to be fair, like, it looks like Hurricane is doing relatively well. As long as he keeps his Immortals alive, he can definitely take this army down.
Yeah, we do see a little bit of one of those fundamentals of Micro, right? Where not all of Solar's units were firing, whereas all of Hurricane's units, thanks to the range of Stalkers, they were able to fire onto Solar. But in the midst of all this engagement, Solar sneaks his Mutalisk back into the natural base of Hurricane and is looking to get more probe kills. We'll have to deal with his Phoenixes first.
Yeah, right now the Shield Battery are keeping the probes alive. Meanwhile, we do have the Roach Ravager pushing into the third base once again of Hurricane. And oh my god, he has to be so careful with his sentries. He has to be so conservative with them, as with his Immortals, oh my god, that's the last force field. And is there enough here from Solar to break Hurricane?
I think Hurricane might just be running out of steam here. Even if it's not enough to break Hurricane here, if Solar trades well, he can just get a round of reinforcements coming in across the map and should be able to deliver that fatal blow. This is looking rougher and rougher for our Rip Protoss player. Loses a third base, but 4 Immortals are out now. Okay, well, we're out.
I was about to say, until then, those 4 Immortals have been kept alive the entire time, but he loses the third base. Now he's starting to lose more Immortals. Like, he was slowly ground down. Solar was just too much, and oh my god, losing the third base, losing all those Immortals, like Solar, he's looking to end the game.
That he is, and he is about to take that. There is still this final hurrah out here for Hurricane. Does have another Immortal out. Does have battery overcharge available to him, but it's not going to be enough. GG is called. And just like that, Solar is going to be making it to the semifinals of this ESL Open Cup Pro Tour Asia. To face Zest, his old nemesis. Well, well.
Okay, so we're gonna be having our first best of 5, Zest versus Solar. Oh boy.
Oh boy, before we get into a couple of bracket updates here, I feel like that game, that just looked like a waterfall beating down on a bunch of sticks, right? You know? Solar being the waterfall in this scenario, Hurricane being the sticks, holding out strong there, but in the end had to just broke under the pressure. The pressure that is known as Roach Ravagers and Corrosive Biles.